more and more often. I think I'm needing a schedule, and I've been in my head about this wedding that happened this weekend. Uh, I don't know. Um, I guess I'm just in my head about the weekend, about marriage and all that shit. And since a couple of things happened there that I'm not really crazy about, but like I said, it's a weekend, it's the wedding. I mean, it's the wedding, so you kind of sort of push the nonsense out of your life. But yeah, um, a little depressing. What are you gonna do? We're gonna give it a few minutes. Maybe somebody wants to hang out with us in the chat. Let's open a window. I have two stories. I want to know if anybody else has a story. So it may not be long, but yeah, I have two stories. I need a head shave. Uh, no coffee. I wonder sometimes, should I stream if I feel like this? Right? Again, mind you, hey William, good to see you in the chat, man. Remind you, I stream a lot, and I do it by myself. Uh, and I'm sort of trying to keep pace with a standard, which is a broadcast standard, and they've got a ton of people, right? So I'm trying to be here every day at the same time with something to talk to you guys about, which I think I pull off fairly well. But it's not prim and proper business suit. I'm not even staring at the camera, right? I mean, I'm always looking off. It's very weird, quirky. So, as well as keep making these pronouncements about changing and moving over, and you know, again, we all know that I am more wordy than the average bear, which is fine. Uh, but I gotta tell you, man, this whole thing is bothering me because I look around and I don't see anything getting better, right? And it's just more the same. I'm wondering what is the point of this? you know, um, if I do it, I should do it and do it up and do it big, right? But between you and me, the wallpaper, I moved away from talking politics because it hurts my heart. It makes me fucking crazy. It really does. I don't see why nothing works. I really don't. Other than racism, and I'm not supposed to call it racism. I don't understand how some people can have an active, what's the word I'm looking for? An active social justice footprint bigger than black people's. I don't understand it. I don't. Uh, so, for instance, like the trans people, I was for you. Now I'm just kind of like, what is going on here, right? All this, I'm the victim of American X. I'm the, a bunch of groups. But then you just go, look, they're only killing one people now. You who claim to be a victim aren't even for those people killed. So, right, video games is where I'm at. I haven't played video games. I need to really set this up for video games. So stressed out about this whole thing and trying not to be crazy. Because let's be clear, if you care about a topic and it hovers in your head all the time, you view the topic and the actions on it differently than somebody who has a passing interest, right? And I think a lot of people now just have a passing interest in any of this civil rights stuff, and primarily famous black people, right? I mean, just because you win a Grammy or an Academy Award or whatever doesn't make the place fair, because something got done for you, right? The whole idea is you do one thing for the group, not one thing for your friend, and I feel that's where it's at. I feel no one taught their kids about any of this stuff that I'm going on about, and I just I'm a, what is it? Old man yells at clouds. I feel like that's where I'm at now, And I was wondering, how long can this happen, right? This all happened because I've been thinking about this wedding. And I was like, if people in my own fucking family will roll their eyes and work hard to sell me out, what am I doing, right? So I think when we move this thing over, it's just going to become an entertainment stream, right? That way I'm not aggravated and agitated about it. I can just play video game and talk shit about celebrities who I fucking hate. Um, and I just be that. And those of you who will realize a likely change, I was thinking about this. I'll likely shut this YouTube and Twitch down and start a new one. Because I don't want anybody wandering through the ocean, right? I'm not going to delete it or erase it. I never do that. I just put it behind, like, I make it private. Because in 10 years, I might go, that wasn't so bad, and make it unprivate. I don't like uh, damaging the time stream so much. Uh, I used to go, well, a million years ago, went out with this girl back in the days of photographs and photo albums. And one day we were hanging out, and she was cutting out the faces of these people in these pictures. And I was like, "What are you doing? That's the craziest shit ever." And she was like, "Oh, I don't like this person." I was like, "But they're still your memories. Now, when you're 40, you won't 50, you won't remember who these people even were because of this moment in your life now that you're extrapolating from this weird emotional place." I mean, essentially, that's what I said. Though I didn't say she was being emotional and ridiculous because you can't tell a woman that. But what do I know about a woman being emotional and ridiculous? I'm not a woman, right? I don't know what emotionality is out in a woman and the levels it takes, right? I don't know if it's ridiculous on this spectrum, down to the other end of the spectrum where it's valid and worthy and absolutely necessary, right? I just thought that whole thing, looking at it as a young man, a guy, how old am I? I must have been like 26, 27. I was like, what's the drama? Or I wasn't 30. But I was a grown adult, and I was like, that's weird. She was a grown adult, and she was like, this is perfectly fine behavior. Um, so it's that, right? I don't want to delete it out and I want to be true to this. Like I mentioned snitching a couple of days ago, right? And the idea of if you and I, Williams, rob a bank and I get caught, you get away with the money. Uh, the snitch protocol is I keep my mouth shut, right? And it's bank robbery. You're going to do a lot of time for it. You knew this going in, and you look after my money, but no one does that, right? So you'll do the 25 years, get out, and the guy will be like, go fuck yourself, right? Here's the thing about that. Um, if they're still looking for a person, you didn't say anything, you can probably give that person up, right? You're all in it together, and that was the thing. We will protect you. You don't take the heat alone. Whereas in the community, snitching is don't snitch implies to everybody, right? Like, I didn't help you rob this bank. I'm not snitching on you. That's not even what snitching is, right? Me telling on you is being a good citizen, right? Me snitching on you is being a partner in crime that betrays you, right? So to preach don't snitch to the whole community is ridiculous and upside down. And I feel like this is what this is. I feel like I'm holding on to the protocols, right? I'm not going to snitch. I'm not going to sell you out. I'm trying to have faith in this movement, this history, this Black history movement, right? And I just feel like the don't snitch thing. I just got snitched out, and you know, the other guy got away with it, and that you know, did we do this thing together, right? Or am I just adhering to protocols and no one's doing that anyway, right? First of all, I just I'm connected to this stuff, these emotions, right? This idea of doing right by your fellow man, not being taken advantage of by your fellow man. Because the other side of this is, if you're going to treat me badly, I can treat you badly, right? Excuse me, an eye for an eye. Nobody wants an eye for an eye because they tell you it leaves the whole world blind. But the people who don't want payback. They want you to machinate and think about it and guide it. They want all these things to come into your head first because it slows down your reaction time, right? Think of it as a gunfight. You're standing across uh, one direction, right? You're standing in the dusty street on one end of it, and all your problems are standing on the other side of the dusty street against you, right? And that other person, that other cowboy in this scenario, is your government. So, I mean, my government gives a fuck ton of money away to other people doing evil, racist shit. It denies me and then allows people who you just had a war with to come here, live here, and then take this dark advantage of you. So why am I telling people about this? They don't care, right? They won't care until someone shoots their kid, and then they'll be on TV. Oh my God, this is horrible. Come out and protest with me. And my first question is, how many of these fucking horrible interactions have you gone to for other people's children, right? All because of this fucking wedding, man. If your family can treat you badly, why would it fucking, you know what I'm saying? Why would a random stranger? Why am I fighting for something if the energy in the community is not conducive to that? So I was sitting here thinking, am I even gonna today? And I was like, you're supposed to be on Twitch today, but I sort of want to hang out on YouTube. I was like, you're just a bag of contradictions and conflictions, and you need to figure out where your head is, right? This is one thing I'm sort of good at doing in my own life, um, sussing out my problem, and then I take action on it, and they are what they are. I'm not saying, just like anything else, you're never going to be 100% right about anything or 100% wrong about anything, but you try and make a decisive move in your days. Uh, Take some counsel from people that you know have quality thinking skills and move on. Um, but I feel like I haven't moved on from this thing since it was put in me in the early 70s. No one cares about the civil rights movement. And I'm often saying that it's dead. So what am I doing? Right? And part of that is not even talking about it anymore. Because if I'm sitting here going, shame on you, you didn't go protest, the only thing that effect that can have on you is judgment upon you. Don't tell me what I should be doing. I don't need to go, right? The only person who can really do that to you is your leadership. And your leadership is someone you decide. I can't show up and go, I'm your leader, you should do this, right? You have to go, I like X, and X is my leader. I follow him all the time on Twitter or Twitch or blah, 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 and I'm really interested in what he always has to say. And last week he said this really interesting thing, right? It's in your head, you're thinking about it. Those are leaders. Joe Rogan, whether you want to admit it or not, is a leader. A lot of people tune into what he say and talk about it against what they're told by the terrestrial media or I'm not ancient media or big media or class or what are we calling it? Legacy media, NBC, ABC, New York Times, Washington Post. The people that've been around since radio started. Um, you know, I'm swimming upstream here. I'm saying some wild shit to like prepare yourself because this doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. And you want to have faith and do the right thing by your people and your country, by your family, and you want to keep a good name, or the corny things that no one believes anymore. Fuck keeping a good name. I made a lot of money selling drugs to children. And you're like, okay. And then he's taking pictures with the president. And you're over here sitting here going, I worked every day and followed the rules, and all I'm getting is fucking audited. What's the point? I think America is broken. I'm out. I'm officially out. Um, when I say I'm out, I don't mean I'm going anyplace. I'm just going to try and do other shit with my time. And I'm going to try and find people who view that shit with me. I don't even know how to start it. But yeah, we're going to do other shit other than politics, barbecues and video games, and we're going to ban talking fucking sports because I swear to God, black people talk more about sports than social justice, and that's just shows how broken some of these people have become. And who put this is what you should be interested in, not us hurting you and your people and limiting your possibility in this place. For nigh on 400 years, when did we get here? 1492, right? And before that, it was drama in Europe. with slavery and the North Africans and the Spanish, right? The French. The French really didn't fuck with a lot of slavery, but the Spain, right? England. It is what it is. Back in those days, you remember the powers that be were jockeying for position. Back in that day, the powers that be were England, Spain, and France, and they were always at each other's throat, and their proxies were always at each other's throat. And now the new ones are America, Russia, and China, and we're always at each other's throats, and we're going to be at each other's throats. And then maybe in 200 years, there'll be a different three groups of fucktards and their client states, right? I mean, in the meantime, the only thing people care about is money. So, just like I'm teaching myself keep cash. Just like I'm teaching myself guitar, which is, it's going pretty good. I can't really hate on it. I think my biggest detriment to me learning this guitar thing isn't what I thought it was. It isn't music theory or music or the little notes on the board. That's like reading. You can learn that. I think my thing that's really kicking me is my fingers. My fingers are slow. Right? It's like if I want to train to run a marathon today, I'm gonna be slower because I'm older, right? I'm not gonna be able but I can still learn it, right? So that's where I'm at. And I was like, all right, well, since I'm learning stuff, why not learn finance? So that's the next thing. I think I'm gonna start seeing what I can learn in a manner of like a year, like long. I like the long form shit in a matter of a year. And it's gonna be very little talk about politics. They won, and I'm of the mindset the South won the Civil War anyway. They've been able to do whatever the fuck they want after that traitorous move, right? So what am I doing here? It's 2022 and we're still having the same conversations. What am I doing here? This is good money after bad. The only thing I should be doing is, if I am in this, is standing up my group against all the other groups, or give it up completely and doing something else. So I'm giving it up completely and I'm doing something else. Brokenhearted, as always. I hate being a really true believer. Brokenhearted. There's a movie called Pay for It with Kevin Spacey and Haley Joel Osment as a kid, and Helen. Who's the woman in Who's the woman in that? It was a movie. It was a really popular show on CBS forever. Not CBS. NBC with not Paul Rudd. Good Lord, Paul Reitner. Right? I don't even know if this guy. So many of these actors. Anyway, Helen. I want to say Helen. All right, we're gonna. Anyway, we do this just to make sure my memory is good. Uh, it's not Helen Slater. Uh, Paul Reiser. What was the name of that show? Paul Reiser. Thank you, William. It was Mad About You. Mad About You? I want to say it was Mad About You. Anyway, but what was her name? Mad About You. Helen? It wasn't Helen. I feel like it's on the tip of my head. It began with H. Helen S. It wasn't Helen Slater. It was Helen. God dang it. Mad About You. Helen Hunt. I was close, right? So Helen Hunt. And it was a good movie. It was modern day melodrama. The problem with modern day melodrama, it's just thick with syrupy. Thank you, William. It's Helen Hunt. It's thick with syrupy, kind of like nonsense. Look, listen. Melodrama in the 30s is a great thing to watch because if you know the nature of what was going on in the 30s in movies and some in politics, right? You have to. So before the Hayes codes came in, there was nudity and right a lot of violence. They were making these epic things with all kind of debauchery going on, sticking on film. And then the Hayes Code came down and said, "Oh, you can't depict the bad guy winning. You can't depict cops as the bad guy. You can't depict the cops losing, right? And so for 30 years, all the movies you got had the cops being infallible. It was propaganda, like all this propaganda for the military and cops on TV now, right? Law and Order is propaganda for police. Uh, uh, all these cop-ish detective military shows, like I don't watch any, but if I could come up with like three or four, you'd know them. Uh, there's a SEAL show on TV, right? There's a Hawaii Five O show, right? That's a propaganda show. Law and Order's a cop propaganda show. There's military propaganda shows. One of my favorite all time was JAG. I love the law shows because I wanted to be a lawyer, so I would sit and watch those, right? Um, LA Law, I watched, right? Maybe I go back and get this law degree, do that on stream. That's long term. That'll take a while. Maybe I can convince fucking three other people to go with me and do it through the course of, right? I mean, education is good, but this way I'm not just sitting here raging about it. Get a GoFundMe page and tell people, yeah, I want to make, I want your money so I can open up 20 Boy Scout academies, right? Well, or whatever they call it, Boy Scout troops, right? And with no special anything, open them up exactly as the Boy Scouts open them. I just think they need it, right? I think a lot of fathers would join with their kids if there were more of these things set up. I don't have any money and I don't know how to set them up. And all this altruism is based in my programming of look out for your people, look out for the people of your country, and try and be a good Christian. All those tenets are about taking care of like yourself and your family, or taking care of your friends, or at least watching their back, and hopefully somebody watches your back. Right? I wouldn't say it's a paranoid kind of concept, but I would say it's a communal and neighborly concept of the Bible versus all the shit in the Bible. Right? Um, and you wonder why none of that is good. McHale's Navy. McHale's Navy. Yeah, you know what? McHale's Navy was propaganda. It really was, right? This sort of innocuous military life where uh, even the sergeants, if you did something mean, weren't really mean. And people tell you, oh no, we get to take license. Uh, but you know what? Those guys were being goofy and silly and getting caught doing some stuff. But what they weren't ever doing is flagrantly moronic, right? Where you watch McHale's Name and you go, that dude is stupid, right? Because then it would paint the military as inept and ridiculous versus painting them as fun and goofy, and you know what I mean. So you could have had the same kind of comedy show about the military and painted them in a way where nobody watching it would have had respect or wanted to join the military after a while, right? Oh man, you McHale Navy that ha ha ha, right? Um, but there's a lot of them. There's just a straight ton of them. Why can't I think of the military ones? Um, and there has to be some recent ones on TV. Yeah. And by the way, all the guys who are on these shows, their characters are always ex-military, right? So I watched several. I normally don't watch cop shows, but I love detective shows. Like first of all, you love action movies because I'm American, but I like detective shows because I used to love reading Agatha Christie, right? Hercule Poirot, Miss Marple, right? Read short stories by uh, not Edgar Allan Poe, by Conan Doyle, right? I mean, here's the thing about Sherlock Holmes story. Sherlock Holmes stories. Agatha Christie wrote books about mysteries, right? Uh, Ten Little Indians, which was really called Ten Little Niggers. It's a book. It's not a short story. Arthur Conan Doyle's all those Shakespeare stories are short stories, right? There's not a ton of Sherlock Holmes books, but there's a ton of Sherlock Holmes short story content. So this is why there's all these little stories, the Bat Hounds of the Baskerville, and I don't even remember any of the fucking names, right? It's like Edgar Allan Poe. There's a limited amount of those stories too. There's not a ton of Edgar Allan Poe stories. There is a shit ton of Stephen King horror novels, right? I mean, that's a dude who puts out work. Um, I'm just assuming every time he comes home, his wife knows he's in his writing room writing, right? It's after 30 years of marriage, you're not gonna fuck with him because he does this thing and it's lucrative to the family, right? Versus you always upstairs, right? You're never down here with me and the kid. What? Shut up. I'm just, if I didn't do this, you'd be screaming about not having anything in the house. Can't have it both ways. That's another thing I tell women. You can have it all. No, you fucking can't. The only reason you can't have it all is somebody has to get their throat cut for you to do that, right? Somebody's giving their all. Are you appreciative? Are you appreciative of this bacon that that pig you thought was useless had to die for? Because there won't be any more after he's gone, right? They're not flowers. They're not lettuce where you can grow and replenish them. Meat takes a little more doing. But no, everybody wants meat, but nobody knows how to feed animals. Nobody even likes pets anymore. All right, you know what? Let's just. I'm just in my feelings about something today, and what that something was an incident that took place at the wedding that I tried to let go, and then I had two dreams about it, and that's why I was like, it's obviously fucking bothering me. And then I was like, why is it bothering me? And then I traced it back to this pod, like all things, right? I looked at my YouTube channel. There must be 300 pods up there, if there's one, right? Most of them are live stream. A lot of cooking up there. Well, not a lot, maybe 4 or 5 dishes of cooking, right? A lot of political content. I'm obviously interested. If you think I'm an idiot, that's fine too, but I obviously tell you what I think about whatever topic and why I think that. Versus what most people do is tell you about the topic and tell you why you're stupid for not being on board with what they think, right? So Joe Rogan has this way of like talking about the issue. You're ridiculous if you don't see it this way. I could completely take away a lot of Joe Rogan's argument. I could completely cripple his argument like it's an MMA fight. Because I've been doing this for a long time and I find a lot of people don't know the issues. A lot of people are dramatic about shit. And a lot of people, you know, you don't need to hit it with an onslaught of questions. Because I've had that and I was like, an onslaught of question is I can sit here and tell you the sky is blue, and an onslaught of question is it are well, you say that now, but why is the sky blue? And who told you the sky is blue? And the sky isn't always blue. And how do you explain that, right? So you get into like a million questions. Then you go, you know what you're doing is essentially not offering anything to the conversation other than just throwing more, you know, conflict into the conversation. Because all you're going to do with 1,000 questions is make somebody feel like they're being interrogated, right? And then if you answer that, there's another than I answer, and then I just answered that. What about right? Especially if the way I've done it in my family, had to fend all these questions from multiple persons, you begin to lose your cool. You begin to yell at people because everybody's turn begins to go up to get one of those got you questions. Got you questions louder and louder. And then before you know it, you're yelling. And that's the thing, right? The thing is to with some of these people in groups is to stop the meeting, right? So some people go, it's a tactic. Some people go into like PTA meetings where something's going to go. We're going to vote for the union, right? And then somebody come up and just ask a thousand questions. Not one guy, because they'll say you've asked enough questions. But you'll put like 30 people in there to yell back down. He's right, and fuck you, and they're like, hey, we need order right here. And then before you know it, all that chaos and mayhem means you can't get the business of the day done. So it's a tactic that people will send into your organization to make your opposition will send into your union meeting to make sure nobody gets a count or everybody's yelling or just to show, look at these people. They don't have their shit together. I can't believe it. And then after you take a picture and you do some facial scans, you go, this guy works for so and so. This guy runs a Twitter bot account for whatever whoever your opposition is. And all these dirty tricks are constantly and perpetually in play, and people act like they're not. So I feel like I'm climbing a mountain upstream while being chained to a fucking battleship. So you got to climb up this mountain with this battleship to its peak, right? These are the rules that the bad people set in, and all they have to do is walk down the gangway, right, to the sandy beach, and that counts as the same kind of activities you did when you have to carry this 200,000 ton battle cruiser with anchor chained around your neck and with one hand behind your back as you move it up a sheer cliff face to the top of this mountain because them's the rules we set in. That's for and every now and then someone does some wild shit like that and we're all impressed that they got into Congress because they had to jump through this hoop. The last one was Ocasio Torres, who's now trying to stay there. She can't stay on her insurgent platform that got her the win. She's gotta and I get it. She's gotta move. But the idea that everybody in America doesn't get that she has to move says everybody in America doesn't understand politics. And if you don't understand politics, then what am I doing talking to you about politics? I'm not running a let me educate your ass about politics, right? I'm out here lighting fire beacons that trouble's on the horizon. This is how is this possible? This is where we are. Who else doesn't see? But everybody's like, yeah, it's fine. So at this point, I'm a pack my go bag and walk into the woods, and you can say that guy's fucking crazy. He always was crazy. But I figured one of three things is gonna happen. Where you are is gonna get wiped out by the meteor or the flood or the earthquake or the whatever, and I'll take my chances on my own in the woods. Prepared enough to forage and fight and hunt some shit and build a hut if necessary. Hey, let it be. I hope you're good. Right? So, and by that I mean when I say build a hut in the woods if necessary, that just means, and for this metaphor, that I think think I'm an outcast. I don't think I'm any longer an outlier of my politics in this society trying to get it passed. I just think I'm no longer an outlier. I think I'm an antiquated idea, and antiquated ideas should be by themselves to die, right? Or let me be out in the woods and let somebody rediscover this great idea and let them propagate it. But I'm too old to sell you out, right? Um, this is the shit that I'm interested in. Black unity, right? As what they would call in the '70s when it was taught to me. Uh, Patriotism, which is what it was called when it was taught to me. Like, look after the country, make sure you don't get invaded, make sure everybody, right? Be a decent citizen to your fellow citizen, right? Patriotism is what I call that. Um, Defend your country and your family, right? Moral, defend your family is moral obligation, like church and like so all these things. Why why are we moving to the woods? All right, so I'll give you a brief recap. I talk a lot of politics on this pod, and at this point, I just feel like it's it's pointless, right? I'm not changing any minds. I'm not gathering any allies, right, to move forward. I tell people all the time, I'm a great follower, and they don't understand this, right? And what I mean by that simply is, I'm not gonna fucking follow anybody because you say you're a leader, right? I'm a good follower. I'm a great follower, right? I'm not a great leader. I'm a great follower. So you can talk all you want about what you think the world needs. I'm not gonna follow you. Um, and you might get me to do it for a little bit, but after I realize there's an after action report of why I followed this person. Like I know why I follow Obama, and I don't trust him now, right? Uh, I know I followed the Clintons, right? Because really I had no choice, but I don't trust them now. Um, who do you follow? What do you stand for, right? And I feel like talking about this doesn't get anything done, and talking about it is part of the problem. Everybody, like all these comedians making race jokes, I think just makes the racism a little more comfortable, even though they're black people. And nobody's passed some laws to stop the nonsense. I'll give you an example. We got two stories that we're going to talk about today. And we can talk about one, and it permits to this. And the title of it is The Supreme Court Makes It Easier to Sue for Malicious Prosecution, right? Why wasn't that always it, right? My whole thing has been like, look, if the government and the bank is unfair to me, my neighbors who would should be like me, want to be good to your fellow Americans, have a good name in church, right? Do something for yourself and not be robbed, right? Will then go, well, fuck them and take part in my misery. So now Why am I marching? Why am I protesting? If this is really essentially the underlying current, right? Why I should just remove myself from this. I'm not changing it. And I'm not disloyal enough to the idea to just go in and sell you out because you don't believe in it, right? I could be your next door neighbor who's happy to do all the skunk shit that people are doing at work, right? Make moves on your 20-year-old, be in Congress, send your 20-year-old son to jail, or not jail, well, to jail if he's black, but to fucking Afghanistan because he's got no options, make it impossible to go to college, make it impossible, right? Your only out is the military, and then or college, and when you hire us, yeah, you're not going to get promoted. We're not going to Katanji Brown you until you do exactly everything we say. And we need you to stand out here at the photo op of, look, you represent progress, even though you're just a wallpapered picture of the idea, and we still stand against you at every turn, right? We've got enough people who look like enough people to put them up and say there's no racism here, right? And I'm sitting here going, why? At this point, it's not like nobody knows. Why am I still doing it? It's like in the 80s when I was dead broke and I was a teenager and the crack epidemic was around and everybody was selling crack. I was like, I couldn't do. I mean, the idea that I'm going to destroy some other black family because came from a black neighborhood, some other black family, and I say the same thing to these, you know, white meth users. The idea that you would destroy some other person in your neighborhood, right? I'm sure they're not a white, they're like that white family, like you're a white family, but the idea of that going, white people shouldn't destroy white people. Yeah, it sounds like it's a white racist kind of like, but the idea is your community is set upon with drugs. Why would you take part in that? Is what I'm saying. Versus white don't sell drugs or white men, right? It sounds bad, but it sounds different with the ear of black people shouldn't be poisoning black people because there's a history here that you accept, right? Well, yeah, I see that. I mean, why would you? But if you said that it's also has a history, right? It instantly lends itself to white racism. Why don't sell drugs to anybody, right? That's the first thing somebody would say. But it's that. It's like, well, yeah, don't give up. But at this point, it's pearls, good money after bad, right? I can't recruit anybody. I can't. You know what? When I moved to Twitch, I was saying this. I'm gonna open up a GoFundMe or a PayPal with the express intent to raise money to do these things. I am in. And here's the thing: they're pie in the sky because I don't know what I'm doing, right? So if you, William, or you let it be with like, yeah, man, we totally feel you. Here's a check for 50 grand or whatever. I would then have to take that money, right? My first stop is uh, EF Hutton on one of these brokerage houses and tell them this is what I want, right? So the only official person I would really hire is a money guy because I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm not gonna fucking. I'm raising money. The first thing most people do is buy themselves a house and a car and a yacht, especially if I'm notable. If I'm notable and everybody goes that I'm for that dude, I get that it generates money. So I'm not one of these guys who goes, you're just raising money to get rich. I know money is a tool for this, right? Just like a gun is a tool, money is a tool for this. Money shouldn't be the thing you worship, right? Just like all these gun nuts, they worship guns. I got 150 guns. I got a gun. Yeah, okay. But with me, if you get the money, you can change people. What happens is once the money shows up, the corruption shows up, and then the corruption is encouraged by people who don't like you, right? So then they're dragging the court where they'll bleed off the money, or like here's an example, the I forget the name of it proper, but they used to run the Apollo late night at the Apollo, and there are two of them, right? There's two Apollo theaters. One's in England, and it sort of has the same background as the one in Harlem. And every now and then it comes on, you'll say late night at the Apollo, and you're like, there's something sort of different. There's no like lucky metal stump that people will come out and rub. Uh, so it's different, but it's similar. But what happened was they were a very popular uh, black owned, black held thing that was around for 100 years, and somebody fucked with the money, and then that was the excuse that the government used to destroy it. And now, well, we're gonna oversee your board, and now there's all these white people on this black board, and now Late Night at the Apollo, and and it was run by not famous but notable black people. Not they weren't all actors and singers, right? Some were lawyers who've been in the Black Power movement, Black Civil Rights movement for like 30 years. Some were bankers who funded this, and then after all that, they started playing with the money. So in order for none of y'all to go to jail, you 70-year-olds who did this evil shit and sold out the young people, we're going to restructure this thing, and all these people are now in control of it, and you don't get to go to jail, but we get to own it. You open that up. You know what I mean? And it's like, and if you go in, you don't have enough people to actually stand with you if you go into court. Court is where they steal from you. And I've always said the Klansmen are in the ABA now, the Bar Association. They're all judges and lawyers. How do you explain this shit? We say so because we say so. The policy is completely racist. Fuck you. What are you gonna do about it? The only thing you can do about it, pick up a gun and blow the fucking brains out of that judge. Then what? That doesn't change anything. That just gets, well, it does change shit. It gets some more laws against you, right? And they'll just cookie cut another fucking judge to rubber stamp. Oh, did he rape you at work? Well, we have no proof of that. It's your word against his. Case dismissed. And also you slandered him on the way out. So pay him $200,000, and you're a barista who only makes 30. How long is that going to pay you? Right? So it's this sinister evil that I'm always like, and it's look, it doesn't make any sense to go Me Too is wrong if so many women take part in Me Too under the guise of I should be allowed to date at work. And my whole thing about this is dating at work, it should be a rare thing. I've known people who met at work and got married, fine. But I mean dating at work like it's high school, where you dated this person, didn't work out. A few weeks later, you dated another person at work, didn't work out. 3 months later, you dated that person at work, didn't work out. Like it's high school. How many people did you date in high school? That's just 4 years. You shouldn't be doing that. Now, and I'm not saying you shouldn't be dating people in your industry. Maybe you work for the same company, but he works in that building over there, or in a different, I'm talking about people who you see at the office. They work on your floor. You can take the same elevator. That's the sinister thing about that, I think. Right? You can date the guy. Oh yeah, he works in building 6 across town. We're gonna meet, and that's perfectly fine. I'm super judgmental of women about that, and I think women have taught you not to be judgmental about the shit they do. You should be judgmental about every bad behavior. It has nothing to do with gender. And here I am. I say stuff that I can easily be pegged as a sexist, a racist. I say shit. You like white society too much with that. I don't make any sense for the environment that I inhabit. So maybe like I said in the beginning a few months ago, not a few months ago, but like when this pod just started, I was like, when this thing ends, maybe in 100 years, people find these really weird, quirky podcasts and get some use out of it. Because everything seemed to me to be telling you to buy this or watch this stupid show or listen to the dumb jokes at the Grammys about violence, right? Listen to all the comedians make jokes about racism while racism does not get solved, right? Listen to people cry about, oh, it's racism that you don't have enough people on the board, or it's racism that there's not a black owned football team. What? Even if there was, you're right, that is racism. Who gets to own it? Who gets this lucrative contract? Are you gonna make it like I want to say Boston. Who had the team that was funded by the ballot initiative for the people, and they owned their football team? I wanted to say it's not Los Angeles, but something like that, where something like an NBA team or NFL team owned by the citizenry will bring all this money to teaching and education, like not, but they'll use it for teacher salary. Fuck salaries. It should be for buildings and education expenses and all this stuff, and it won't be. They'll open up another one. They'll talk pretty talk. Oh, we have to, and then they'll hold up these famous black people, Jackie Robinson, that they gave a hard time to, and use their image like they were always for you. Look at how great we are. Yeah. What about Colin Kaepernick? Yeah, we don't talk about Colin Kaepernick. Look how great we are. Yeah, this is what I'm doing. I'm fucking swimming upstream and I'm not doing it anymore. So I used to protest and I was about these shootings and I'm like, at black people, I don't want to, yeah, why have, how many of these fucking excuse my language, and I have to stop cursing. How many of these things have you gone to? These protests, these unfair police shootings. Where would your support? Sometimes it shows up in sneaker leather. No, don't even go. Don't even bother. Okay, but then they're the first place is racist. Yeah, okay. Well, is this is your complete investment in the whole idea, that statement, as you go along and do exactly the wrong things that you right. So yeah, so in this, you know what I want to do with my time? I want to paint, I want to draw, I want to try and write a novel, a story, right, an actual book. um and I draw, so I think it's likely going to be a stupid graphic novel, uh that no one's gonna read, but just to prove that I can do it. And the more I think about it, it's like I should be better. If I'm saying betterment, I should be better, right? So now I have to go back and learn finance just on my own because I'm a weirdo, and that's it. I'm also fucking weird. Like no one who does this. No one does this. No one does this. Stream constantly, learn guitar online. Who does this? It's all embarrassing. It's all stupid. It's like telling you about my sex life and then inviting you to join my OnlyFans and watch me do what would I do on the OnlyFans by myself, right? It's that kind of dumb shit. You're just kind of going, who is this for, right? Right? So no one's gonna go over there and watch me do whatever I do, right? And it likely wouldn't be sex because that's not me. Sex online is totally not me. Um, and don't get me wrong, I'm not making any judgments. I had some sex tapes because everybody did, right? But I have complete control of those tapes. Uh, Goofy stupidness, right? You're supposed to take some risk and try some shit out in your life, and then you're supposed to know what works for you and what does not. And this is what this is. It's not the sex stuff. It's the what's works for me and what does not. So me protesting. At this point, I'm just crying. No one cares, and I'm just crying. And if I do it for another 30 years, I'll just spend up another 30 years of doing nothing. And I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to try and find out whoever wants to hang out with me and kick the nonsense, right? Uh, Learning shit. I like to do stuff. I like to learn stuff. I really don't like to travel, so I don't want to go to Paris or Germany or France or any of that shit. But I like to drive and I like to hike and I like to bike and I like to. So why can't I find that doesn't seem so far out of the ordinary that I can't find anybody to do it. But everybody is sort of hyper judgmental and nasty to everybody while they don't do anything to move the needle forward. I think there's I think America, liking the world, but America is definitely bereft of leadership, right? And by leadership, I mean all leadership. Like, if you want somebody who to be your neighborhood hero, and you want to be like them growing up as a kid, whether they joined the military or became a school teacher or a rock star or anything, nobody cares anymore. Everybody just worships money. That I don't. I just want to be rich and worship money. How you gonna get there? Don't know. Don't care. The simple way is to be a lawyer, right? Okay. So yeah, don't give up. I think I have to give up. At this point, it's good. It's good money after bad. It's good time after bad. And again, if your whole family is, I love them, but if they don't get it, then what hope do I have of making somebody else sort of see the problem and going, hey, you're right. I'll start my own Boy Scout Girl Scout thing over here and and try to stem the tide of you know the dam break. Uh, yeah, and I've seen this is where I've seen this happen before. They'll just go, hey, look over there. And by that, hey, look over there, it'll be something else. So it'll be a cop shooting. This is egregious and outrageous. It'll be a woman disappearing. This is egregious and outrageous. Meanwhile, you're going, that woman that you have on TV, no disrespect to dead ladies, isn't my woman. I don't know her. How does this affect my life? And that can be said for 99.9% of people watching this show. Versus, hey, there's this thing where you can open up you know, get college credit to go back to school, or there's a giant mass of opening up, like I said, Boy Scout, Cub Scout, Girl Scout things to make better people in 10 years, right? That's something that you might go, oh, I wonder if that's in my neighborhood, and I can here in Maine, or here in Arizona, or here in Oregon. That I mean, there's nothing for anybody other than to go. They're lazy, and then you give $18 billion to a fucking foreign government that has giant race issues, and that's not. And we're not. You might think I'm talking about Israel. That's not the one I'm talking about. So I would just be like, "What the fuck is that?" And no one would care. And people probably no one, very few people talk to me in the chat. That's fine. I look at it, and every now and then I have 50 people watching, right? And I'm appreciative, but I wonder what those people think. Maybe the majority of those people are like, yeah, but he's probably another bullshit artist because they've been affected by so many bullshit artists, right? Like I said, I'm a good follower. I'm not a good leader. So if you come through and go, we can change the world, my skill set is going, everybody, that guy's full of shit, right? Versus my skill set being, I know how to do it and I can get us there in whatever small increment, right? And the small increment is trying to set up a thing for black fathers to hang out and chill and have a beer together, maybe watch the game and talk shit out, to having those fathers set up like shit for the kids, right? Because the kids, they're your kids, they'll benefit. I don't have any kids. I don't have a wife, right? So why am I for this shit? Why shouldn't I just be for moving to Vegas in my retirement, getting blowjobs and gambling? Why shouldn't that be where I'm at? I'm pro blowjob, by the way. And by the way, why can't I? It's the I. It's, I'm sorry, excuse me. I was trying to be flippant, but I don't want to be dirty. I'm sorry. I would like to apologize to the ladies in the chat. Let it be. But I'm trying to be flippant because you know I don't know what the gays stand for. I don't. I don't. I'm not for any violence or abuse to them or anything, but their movement seems to be sexual, and my movement seems to be about life preserving and not being murdered, right? And this is what I'm talking about. I support you now. You're staying in the sunshine, but I'm still here in the dark. I don't hear you say a fucking thing about my plight unless it comes to an election when you go, oh, we all need to go vote, right? We all need to change, and it's like, get no, fuck you, get out of here, right? And it's once you know what it's like. It's like Will Smith. Here's the thing about about that Will Smith thing. Everybody liked you and played along. What even if it was fake in sincerity. Once you rip the bandit off of "I'm an asshole," it's hard to get those people back in your corner, right? So, like I said on the stream, um, quitting the academy. So what? Right. His bread and butter, his gravy train, where they can do him the damage for this thing, is in his union, right? And his union is the Screen Actors Guild and the Music Guild, the After Guild, right? Everybody, all these rappers who guns, 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 murder, 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 they're using nigger all the time in every rap. They're all part of a union, right? And to have a show where you walk in on the stadium, but you can't perform there if you're not in a union, because the lights are put up by unions, right? So all of a sudden, this is another thing I say about unions. Unions essentially can blackball you, which is bullshit. So if I have a shop and I go, I'm not for that union, and I don't think unions should be necessary. Then the people who run the venue, like they have union workers to rig the lights and ba 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 ba. Those people go, we're not putting up anything because we're union. We don't want fucking scabs. You see what I'm saying? So it becomes, oh, your union is about your politics. It's like I was a member of the Police Benevolent Association, and they essentially they only voted Republican. They only had a deleterious view of want if I'm make sure I'm using that right, view of black light, and they were taking money that the black cops would give and giving it to things that the black people did not agree with. Right? What are you gonna do? So this time around, I'm just gonna play games. I'll talk politics when it comes up, but man, oh, my heart is just so much agita. Um, yeah, it's just let other people who talk about it, because I've been talking about it forever, and I'm sure they just started talking about it only 5 years. So I'm pretty sure you can still get good political discourse. I just don't see, like, I'll still show up with my man's business podcast, right, talking an hour or two about a topic. But me being here nightly talking politics, I think you guys might get sick of me. Um, you know, and the elections are coming up, and they're already talking more and more about Donald Trump. Hillary Clinton has decided to come out of the woodworks and talk about. I see the same old players doing the same old two step. But now I have a completely new hobby to keep myself busy. Right, writing songs. By the way, they're not good, but there's a formula to writing songs. Excuse me. There's a formula to writing songs, and it's fun. It's like there's a formula to cooking, right? And it's fun. And when I think about this music stuff that I'm doing now, I always think of young me. Like, man, is it too late to really get this into my skin? I should have did this in my 20s. I really should have did this in my teens, right? Can I really do this? And that makes me feel good, right? The idea of, can I get good at this? Can I really? Man, what are you doing? Why you put that guitar down? It's not like I have to, and oh my God, and I need to be, and stressed out and why I can't, right? There's none of that. It's just kind of like, I'm bad at it. I'm really bad at it. But it's so super fucking enjoyable just to do it, just to hold it, just to play it. Um, and I want to do more of that. And that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. I think if 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 you could get people together who want, there's got to be people who want to do something, right? Who wanted to be musicians, who played a little bit and stopped, right? Nobody's getting anybody together because everybody hates fucking everybody, and everybody's attitude is this arrogant queen beeism that you can't hide. I told my homie Smooth Panic when I met him 30 years ago, after spending like 4 hours with him, I was like, "You are too you can't be this cool." I spoke to him about this before, and I was like, "I'm putting you on 2 years probation," and he was like, 2 years probation." I was like, "Nobody can be fake for 2 years. It may be 6 months, you might have a year, but there'll be cracks, and you may see one in 6 months, you may see another in another 6 months, right? And you may see the third, and you go, ah, that guy fucks up every right. Then right? And I was like, well, you're 2 years probation, man. So 2 years runs by, and he reminds me of this, like I forgot it. It's just weird things come to me, and they sit in pockets in my head, and I was like, yeah, I remember. And I spoke to him this morning on Skype, just kind of kicking it, talking bullshit about he went to visit his fam this weekend. And that's it. I instantly knew I liked him, right? Instantly knew we were going to be boys. It happens occasionally. You should acknowledge it. Versus you might like somebody but never let them know. Fuck this. And the first argument, you're happy to let it go, but then you think about why weren't we friends? What happened to so and so? We just lost contact. Y'all were so tight. People let junior high school interactions get into play, right? I've had to fucking throw myself at the feet of friendship. You're right. I don't know, man. That's other lot because I'm very introspective, and I'll go, "What the fuck you did?" Blah, 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 blah. And then later on, go, "Oh my god, what was I fucking? What was I?" Then I have to call somebody. It happens rarely, but it happens, right? It happens. But I know people who get that and they'll act like they'll just double down on it. I was always right. I don't give a fuck. I don't need you in my life. Are you sure about that? And then in 30, you're like, I should just apologize. Right? In my family, we've got strife among families that we never used to have. My grandma used to stand against stuff like this because what I call queen bee syndrome, all these women who want to be right, and then they cause conflict with each other, and then their families ripple out throughout the rest of the family. And the older women have, because my I said this on stream before. My family is mostly women, right? So for every boy born in my family, and it's been like this for I want to say at least 60 years now. For every boy born in my family, there's like three girls, right? So we have a ton of guys, and we have a straight crap ton of women, and our family philosophy tends to lend itself to womandom just because there's so many in the zone, right? Um, Not necessarily a bad thing, uh, but what's your philosophy? In a society where your philosophy is "fuck men, I don't need anybody," are you propagating this stupid philosophy? Yeah, they are. In a thing of, well, the only way you can get ahead is sell out black people, right? Are you doing that? Some of them are. And some of them didn't go to college, barely got out of high school, don't give a fuck about anything. Are you an embarrassment to yourself and the whole mode, knowing that we are definitely of people in this country connected to slavery? We all know it, right? So how do you act like nothing's going on here? You're not new to the country. And I think it's I don't even want to talk about it. It's never going to be fixed. I'm just going to try and have as much fun as I can, which plays in on the hand. Oh, good, they gave up. Oh, good, they. And I think it's like, all right, I don't like to give up. I like to be loyal. I like to fight it out. But at this point, I think I've got to give up, or switch horses midstream, or fucking something. I got to do something. This is the kind of energy, obsessive nonsense that makes people, you know, have a heart blowout, stress and strain, right? Or do some dumb shit with guns. Look, I don't buy a gun, have a gun, buy two, knock yourself out. Why do you need 1,000 guns? And then as you're buying 1,000 guns, you're writing stupid I don't want to say stupid, but you're writing your own world manifestos, which usually includes dark language of groups. That's the first sign that you're losing something, right? Um, no, I'm not doing that. I know exactly who my problems are. I criticize them on stream all the time. I just criticize the gay lesbian thing, right? You claim to be allies, but seriously, so I'm not gonna hate on you. I'm just not gonna trust you. I'm not gonna do that thing anymore. And when you show up in my zone, I'm gonna tell as many people who will listen to me why you shouldn't be listened to. And that's what it's supposed to be. It's called being woke, right? It is what it is. So now that no one cares, and even as, in my opinion, it's gotten worse, and it's gotten worse since Obama. Obama became president, and people lost their minds here in the West. The American government does not do right by its citizenry. It never has. People get elected, and all of a sudden it's I know what's best for you, and what's best for you is doing whatever I want and taking, you know, marching orders from corporate interests. And I said online 1,000 times, America on paper, mwah. So one day somebody's going to come through and just use the laws we have in the book to cut the heads off of all these titans. They don't pay taxes. That's illegal, right? Oh, we wrote laws. That's just bribery, right? We lobby people. That's bribery. It depends on who's looking at it and how they view it, right? I killed you. The judge can look at it as self-defense, or they can look at it as a dark aggression, right? So if somebody comes through and goes, they've been stealing from people and sending people to war forever. I'm tired of these titans, these Hollywood titans who've been raping forever, these corporate titans who've been rigging the system. The you can't buy homes or houses. These people are completely out of fucking control. I got me and six other people who are willing to prosecute them. I'm the president. They're my attorney general, right? And I've got these other people. Versus one or two saying this, right? So now you go, wow, there's 10 people in government who are talking about, and then the same thing happened. Well, we're going to slow roll it. We're going to sit it in court. We're going to wait 8 months and we're going to hopefully wait his presidency out so we could. But that guy just go, no confidence vote on Congress. You can shut those bitches down too, like it's a parliament. hasn't ever happened because we're America, oldest democracy. Had a revolution here because shit wasn't working, right? Had a civil war here because shit wasn't working. So stop acting like no one will fight. My whole thing is I'm not getting to the point I'm going to fight. I'm just going to go over here and play guitar and try and be interesting, and try and keep my eyes on what's going on. And my agita is I cannot believe that no one cares to fix it. And no one cares to fix it on both sides. I mean, it's 2022. It's 2,000 years in. We're 22 years into the second millennium, and people who have a godless amount of money are still greedy for money. How much do you need to steal? And this is the thing. If I stole $10 million, why don't I stop there that no one knows I stole it? They're up here at the $700 million mark. They can't stop themselves. It's kleptomania. Meanwhile, you will go absolutely broke if your kid gets cancer. Meanwhile, you a $300,000 cancer bill. Meanwhile, you go absolutely broke if you try to go to college. $200,000 college bill. How are you supposed to even start a life with that when no one's giving you jobs? And when you get a job, you make 40 grand a year to pay that off. It take you 30 years to pay that off before you can even buy a house. They rigged this system so hard, and everybody knows it. And people are like the civil rights movement. Somebody will come and march and free it up for me. I don't have to do that shit. And I think this, the greater society says the same thing. This place is a shit show. Somebody will fix it for me. This is your fucking obligation, you idiot. Excuse my language. This is what I mean about patriotism. We're not Europe. Everybody should have a little sense of this. I don't need people coming here from Europe telling me what America is. I don't really care what what's his name, the host of the Grammys had to say about America. I don't care. You have no skin in the game. You showed up on a plane. Just you act like people shouldn't be outraged and angry about it, and that's another thing, right? Part of this thing is let me hear your grievances, right? And granted, nobody wants to hear people bitch forever, but you should hear your. So, for instance, let's say you had an issue with your husband, right? Woman, you spent too much money. What the fuck, right? And you love him. He's angry. You got to sit down and listen to that. You had an issue with your wife. I can't believe you yelled at my sister at the wedding. You're right, baby. And while she talks and yells at you for like 20 minutes, you can interject occasionally, but she's got every right to get it out. And he's got every right to get it out. Now, you can't bitch about the same thing forever. It's Chinese water torture. But whoever you're bitching at should be given a chance to make up for it, right? I got to fix this. My lady is not happy with me, right? I got to fix this. Mom, because you like this person. If you don't care what they say, then fuck what they say. Why am I listening? You talk. Fuck your sister. What are you talking about? Bitch, get away from me. Fuck you too. I've seen relationships like that. I'm like, man, this is the way they talk to each other. All right. These are the people I'm dealing with. So yeah, I said before on this pod, the civil rights movement is dead. They've sold it out for hard cash. America is a corrupt state, just as corrupt as Russia, just in a different way. Right? America makes arrogantly legal all this corrupt shit, or makes it legal by not sanctioning it. And by sanctioning it, I mean if I'm your husband and I blacken your eye and beat your ass for not having my cornflakes ready at 4:30 in the morning when I go to my job. You know what I mean? If I'm that guy, they make it legal by when the cops show up. The cops go in, no problem, nothing to see here. They make it legal, right? And that's been the case uh, with marriage in the West for a long time. People, not everybody hit their wives or hit their husbands, but people could hit their spouses, and the state would be like, "That's between you and your spouse," which is bullshit. Right? Some people kill their spouses. Some people put their spouse in such fear that they will have to flee and hide out, like they're in the mob. Right? Didn't do anything about it. Meanwhile, shoved money in their pockets and rigged it so the next two generations of Americans to come could not get ahead, but made it easy for foreign companies to stand themselves up in foreign places. right, for white governments to stand themselves up in ethnic countries. That's the south of Honduras what they think about Americans' politics in the 70s and 80s here. Why should I trust you? President says there's no racism. So where am I at here? I'm obviously not going to be fucking racist. There's no point in that. I'm obviously, you know, gonna stay black, right? There's no switching horses in this. I think I'm gonna moderate my my content, not my behavior or my tone. I don't think my behavior or my tone are the problem. I think I'm a pretty decent guy. I don't think I'm rude or an asshole. I think I'm strongly opinionated, but I don't think I'm an asshole. So I just think I'm gonna refocus this stuff. And do what's the word I'm looking for? Do more selfish shit, more masturbation, right? Painting only affects me, drawing only affects me, playing the guitar only affects me. All that shit is up my own ass, right? But then I cut the TV on and I see someone got murdered, then I won't march for them. And I have been marching for about 8 years now. I gave it up 8 years ago. Yeah, I gave it up about 8 years ago. And that's the thing. If you don't do it, that's fine. But the people who go, man, I'm going to make the world a better place, you got to fucking encourage those people, right? In the smallest sense, I'm going to go and get a roundabout put in on the corner so no, you don't have any more traffic accidents. You may go, I don't care about a roundabout, but you should, oh, yeah, good. And then when he pulls it off, your neighborhood's safer. But now it's like, I want everything to work. I'm not going to work to make everything work out, right? And fuck whoever does try to make everything work out. Yeah, that's too many. You can't have that lifestyle. You can't live a fuck everything life I want to be taken care of. You can't live a fuck everybody I'm gonna steal from everybody life. One of my big things that makes me crazy is the modern woman and her, like here in America, everything is girl this and woman that. And it's not, we need better schools for the children, right? We need education for the children. It's like girls need this and girls need that. And I'm sitting here going, what? So you're gonna open up a school only for girls and leave the boys? It's always some divisive shit. And if you're a parent, how you sitting here talking about girls and ignoring your son who's sitting right there? And one of the thing that makes me crazy is people who talk shit about their own kids. I'm like, you raised this kid. If this grown ass man is not what you wanted, you should have done better. There's agita in my family, right? About a whole any number of young men. But I always remind these people, you raised him. You are 80% responsible for him and how he views the world and how he goes through it. Coming across like men are just assholes and there's nothing you can do about it. Well, how convenient for you. It's like the blacks are just lazy, right? The women are just, what did they say about the women? Fickle, right? They can't be in office. They're fickle. They can't be allowed to vote or drive. They're fickle, right? It's always going to be a one group is something, so they can maintain power. And then those groups who they were talking about get power, and then they turn around and burn the people behind them. They pull up the ramp. So yeah, America is due a civil war. I'm not going to take fucking part in it. And when it comes to my door, I'm going to be gone, right? Like all those people who left the Ukraine. Should I fight for America? Why? If we win, it goes back to what I told somebody this at the beginning of the pandemic. Why would you want to put this place back the way it was? Why would you want that? It didn't work for you in the first place. We got a minute and a half, and we didn't cover any stories. All right, the two stories we had was a man arrested for D6 murders. Right, we were going to read about that. And you know what? Let's read about before we go. Let's read about the Supreme Court, and t- I mean, this should have been the first thing anybody did. 45 seconds. The first thing anybody did in this country. The idea that somebody can go and prosecute you maliciously and leave you in jail for 30 years. What? You see what I'm saying? And they're like, look at us, a pat on the back. Aren't we great? Uh, you can sue the people who put you in jail unfairly, right? Just like, hey, the NCAA made hundreds of billions of dollars off these kids. Some who not everybody goes to the NFL. If they were good enough to play for a season or two or three at your program or four, they should get more than just free college. You built a whole new wing on your college on their labor. Fucking and talk to me like I'm an idiot about it. That's that old not Bill Cosby. That's the old Abbott and Costello. One for you, one for me. What of it? I'm going backwards. Uh, one for you, one for me. Two for you, one, two for me. Three for you, one, two, three for me. And then you sit here terms acting like nobody knows the place is corrupt. Nobody knows with the whole idea of fuck you, what are you gonna do about it? And that's the arrogance that America's running through now. Everybody knows what's up, and your whole position is fuck you, what are you gonna do about it? You caught my bluff. I can't do anything about it. But it's gonna be somebody. And I said before, like I think we're on the verge of the age of assassinations all over again. It happened in the '60s. It happened in the '20s, the '30s. How many politicians got killed between '20 and '30? I'm thinking of four, right? I'm thinking of president. I'm thinking of that guy from Louisiana. Uh, there's four. Who's the other two? Wasn't there a guy from Florida? We're not gonna look up. We're not gonna look it up. I'm pretty sure we should look it up. Pretty sure it gets you shit in the world. Supreme Supreme Court. All right, so let's put this on because we're gonna read this one. And again, I'm sorry I'm late. I was 20 minutes late, but here we are doing the thing that we are here to do, and we do it well. Even as, doik, doik, even as it's sort of hodgepodge and hit and miss. Let's make this bigger. Well, let's not make it that big. All right. Supreme Court makes it easier to sue the police for malicious prosecution. This should be police and district attorneys. They make it seem like, oh, we had no choice but to prosecute him. The police brought him in here and charged him with terrorism, and we just. Oh, this one's a short one. All right, good. This one's a short one. I like when they put how long Nina Totenberg. Oh, all right. Don't even get into it. The people who've been around for 30 years writing these stories, you should ask yourself questions about. Um, that's all I'll say about it. The Supreme Court on Monday made it easier to sue police and prosecutors for malicious prosecution, but the decision will still leave in place other barriers to such lawsuits. See what I'm saying? So that's what they do. One, as they throw you a rope, they begin cutting that rope as you're climbing up. Right? The idea that these are against the law, but we won't ever bring charges again. Look, this idea of the lynching law that they just made 200 years late. So what? The last time black people were this furious was the '80s, and you came up with a this law that the federal government civil rights bureau will look into this shit, and nothing happened. They don't look into anything, and now you have this, and nothing happened. They won't charge anybody, and now you have this, and nothing will happen. They won't prosecute anybody. So yeah, I'm going to be teaching myself finance and guitar over there Because another fucking black person show up on my TV telling me how this is a good idea, I'm gonna openly call them a fucking coon and tell them to get away from me, right? And this sounds ridiculous, but sometimes I blurt stuff like that. I'm like, man, you fucking bullshit. I like under my breath in places at the TV, reading articles. You see me read articles. I can't. I'm doing it now. Giving rebuttal mid sentence. It's making me crazy. I know you're full of shit. I know you're corrupt. You know you're corrupt, and I'm just staring at you be corrupt. I can't stare at you be corrupt anymore. I got to go do something else. Because I'm sitting here shaking my head going, it gets more and more arrogant and outrageous every day. So I fully expect somebody to come through and fix it. And that person is likely in government. And then it'll get really interesting. Have not heard what word in a long time. Don't if it's a pejorative, don't put it in the chat because that'll probably be what they use to strike me. I was thinking like you can't use the N word, right? But we black people, it's culture. We use it all the time. I mean, I don't ever call anybody the N word, but every now and then I'll say it. And I was like, when I moved to Twitch, are they gonna ban me for saying it? That was like, probably not, because there's a lot of black people over there who are of the culture, uh, who, oh yeah, yeah, of the culture who use it a lot. But I don't think I could use the word I just used, right? Um, just like Twitch now says you can't use the Ritz word, right? If you want to go get ham and cheese and have it on a Ritz, you got to use the word Ritz. And watch, give it a half a year or 2 years before people are using Ritz to in place of the word that uh, is is a slur to white people, which I've heard the word used in the clinical text. I've never heard anybody use it at anybody, right? And the word I've said on this podcast before, the word I heard associated with as a slur about white people was from my grandmother, and she called white people the devil. So I was like, when I heard cracker, I was like, that's what. How's that racism? But mind you, when I heard it, I was a little kid. This is when you heard these things and you go, right? I mean, let's go. Let's read the story. I need to blow my nose. All right, hold on, people. Let me go get a tissue and blow my hogger. All right. Excuse me. I'm pretty sure you did not want me going. Right? That's just not where we're at. All right, so let's read this. Um, look, some of the stuff that I was taught has been in the black stream since the Civil War, right? And every day I see more of it and more. And there's always the same problem. As hard as you work, there'll be somebody who doesn't work that hard and will sell you out in this environment of slavery, right? In this environment, 100 years later of Jim Crow. In this environment, 80 years later of whatever the fuck this is, right? Um, be woke. They'll come to you smiling with false um, concern and care for your issues and will represent somebody who wants no good for you. It's 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 part of the civil rights movement as sure as traitorship and betrayal is part of military life, right? Every now and then somebody is a spy or something. You can't say that never happens. I'm not even going to take any because we have a brand new government or organization. There's never going to be that, right? You have to know that that's part of it. That people betray groups and organizations and nations, right? So this movement has been betrayed a lot. It's a signature part of what goes on in the black movement, and no one ever kills these people because everybody's a Christian, but not anymore. That's why I keep saying people aren't falling on Christianity and praying about it anymore. Like I was reading this thing a couple of days ago, and it said we're gonna finish reading this, and it said 100 years ago, like 1940s, you'd go, hey, your life is shit. Uh, you're gonna pray about it. What do you think? And people go, well, it's got to get better because I believe in God, and you know that whole thing, a little faith. Now you ask, and people are like, you gonna pray? Pray about it. No. The idea that people had a natural governor on on their behavior, which was a spiritual and moral governor that they got from church, is not there anymore. So you see a lot more OnlyFans and twerking at church if you go to church. Now the church is full of old people, and I criticize churches too. You didn't even care to make the next generation to keep these churches alive, right? Even you fake ministers didn't even do enough groundwork to ensure your gravy train lasted. No one believes this anymore. A byproduct of that is no one believes in God and marching and for the civil rights shit, and it's gonna come to violence, especially in an era where there's violence everywhere. You've been watching insurgencies on your television set for 30 years since the first George Bush invaded, since Saddam Hussein invaded Kuwait. I want to say in 1988 was the first Gulf War. Man, that is some bad writing. August 1990. What did I say? 88? Yeah, okay, I was 2 years off. I'll eat that one. But you've been watching it since like 90, what, 91? That's 10 years before September 11th, right? And September 11th was 20 years ago, 22 years ago, well, 21 years ago. It was 2001, right? So that's 31 years. What did I say? 30 years? I love the skill to guesstimate is one that I take seriously. How long are we going to be out? About 40, 45 minutes. It better be about 40, 45 minutes. I'll give you an hour. But don't tell me 40, 45 minutes and spend 3 hours of my day with bullshit, right? How long does it take to drive there? Oh, 3 hours. Okay. I'm not going to start asking you, are we there yet? Until the 3 hour and 30-minute mark. And I'm going to be pissed. People's time is valuable. And what you say should mean shit. If all you ever do is get it wrong, why should I ask you or trust you to do anything right? Is it gonna rain today? Nah, it's not gonna rain today. Then it pours, right? Have a good guesstimation. Dinner. I'm starving. Where's dinner? Dinner should be ready in about 20 minutes. Okay. An hour later. Well, I just had to defrost it. Why'd you say 20 minutes? Right? It's this idea that you're you you're you don't care enough about whoever you're talking to give proper information to, as well as you're building up a long lineage of erroneous information when asked a specific question, right? I'm not asking you to guess. I'm giving you what time is it? It's a specific question. How long is this going to be? It's a specific question. You can ballpark it. People, that's what guesstimation is. The assumption of guesstimation is, well, I'm going to ballpark this. Don't hold me to it, but I think about X. How long does it take to graduate college? Don't, I mean, not a college graduate. I mean, I don't know this for sure, but I'm guessing I'm ballparking it about 4 years or so. Maybe some do it earlier, some do it a little later, but about 4 years. Okay, yeah, that sounds about good. But don't go, I don't know, 6 months. I don't know, 10 years, 12 years. This is your guesstimating. What do you? You cease to be a serious individual. Let's do this thing. All right. So the U.S. Supreme Court. Will wrote I in the chat. I don't really know what that means. Um, the U.S. Supreme Court on Monday made it easier to sue police and prosecutors for malicious prosecution. But the decision, why is this highlight? Is this another story of why how this is not going to work out? It definitely is. Oh no, this is the court document. October term 2021 syllabus. No, yeah, this is from the Supreme Court syllabus. Thomas V. Clark et al. See, this is what this somewhere in this thing written by lawyers. Everything can be extrapolated and reinterpreted and re-extrapolated and then struck and then restruck and and you can talk about the one fucking thing for 1,000 years and keep sexism and racism around. This is the thing. They wait you out. People with lawsuits been suing for 20 years, and they go, well, now they'll settle because they've been, we've got that the idea we've got deep pockets, we can do whatever we want to you is their tactic, and you should end it. You should make their money not count. That's what you do. How you do that? You can do it with a bullet, or you can do it by like the government does. We'll put something online and then just not ever charge anybody for it. You can make their say worthless. And I think you can do that with unity and loyalty, and somebody in government, like a politician who's absolutely about it. Alexandria Ocasio Cortez was not about the Amazon movement that just succeeded yesterday. And that guy we should talk about. Maybe we'll talk about him tomorrow. I spent this whole thing losing my shit, and then we're just into talking about issues. And we only got two sentences into this one, and it's 8:25. And I wanted to talk to you about two other things, but we're not going to because we're not going to do a 10 o'clock stream tonight. We're not going to do a 4-hour stream. We're going to talk about these two tomorrow, so we'll put them on the agenda tomorrow. And I'll come back tomorrow with a better attitude. Amazon Warehouse Union. So again, I mean, I do. I appreciate your time. I know it's valuable. I'm sure you could be listening to any kooky nut bar whack job, which, excuse me, right? Any whack job. Excuse me. Coughing every time I say whack job. In this streaming world, right? And I'm glad that you take your time to give your moment attention to this crazy person, which is nice. I appreciate it. Uh, but I at least try and be entertaining or informative. Now I think I have to be a little more entertaining than informative because the let's see but the sitting still leaves in place other barriers to such lawsuits. At the center of the ruling case is what? At the center of the ruling is a case of diaper rash. Yes, yes, diaper rash. Larry Thompson was living with his then fiance, now wife, and their newborn baby when his sister in law. So he was living with his fiance, who he later married, right? It wasn't fly by night. When his sister, who apparently suffered from mental illness, called 911, claiming that Thompson was abusing the baby. So you got a call from a known mental illness patient about a guy and his new baby and his wife who it depends. Did they have any criminal history? No, none. Why would you assume? And this is it. We just assume the call we got is right. So somebody wants you fucked with. So here we are. It's not everybody. William class is in session with True. It's not everybody. All these cops. But like I said before, if you have a police department of 100 people and your small town is of 1,000 people, and you have 3% shitty cops who do whatever they want and make people miserable, within 10 years of your whole department will be known by your bad cops, which is the 3%. Because just like rapists, One dude can fuck could just destroy. I'm about to say fuck, but it's destroy a lot of lives. One guy. Instead of dealing with him, so no one else have to go through the issues anymore, the horribleness, and you keep them in play, and then you're arrogant about it. Why do you take? Yeah, yeah. I just think people are tired. At the center of the ruling is a case of diaper rash. Yes, a diaper rash. Larry Thompson was living with his then fiancee, now wife, and their newborn baby when his sister-in-law, comma, who apparently suffered from mental illness, comma, called 911, comma, claiming that Thompson was abusing the baby. Period. There's a lot of commas in that. When the EMT officers arrived, they were admitted to the apartment by the sister-in-law, but Thompson was unaware of her 911 call. Told them they must have the wrong address. The EMT officers left but returned to the apartment with four New York City police officers. Why? Someone told you it was an erroneous call. Why would you come back? I've gotten bullshit calls before. Why would you come back with the cops? Something like something. You know why people come back with cops? Because it wasn't this simple. What? No one called the cops. Oh, okay, bye. And then they came back with. It was probably like, what? No, I'm not letting you in. No one called. Well, I'm gonna teach you a lesson. I'm gonna go get the cops. And that's the subtext of what I'm reading here from someone who's been on literally 1,000 of these calls for either calls for aid or what we used to call wellness checks. I haven't spoken to my mom. I live in Jersey. She lives in Brooklyn. She's not picking up a phone. She lives alone. Can you go run by and check? That's a wellness check. Cops do that all the time. Who is it? Police. Police? What do you want? Your daughter called. She said she couldn't get in touch with you. Oh, my phone was in charge. I'm sorry. And that's something you don't have to open the door. All right, miss. You can. I mean, we want you to. We like I'm so police. Miss, you want to open the door? Talking through a door. No, no, no. I don't feel good. Open the door. All right. Write your memo book. So and so said she was fine. Refused to open the door. Wellness check. Nothing else suspicious. Now, in a week later, when you find that she's dead in the house, you can go, well, we talked to the killer, but we had no other reason to enter this house, even as we're talking to the killer. You can't assume that person is a murderer in there, right? You can't assume this shit. However, if I walked up and be like, well, it's a wellness check and we're checking, I looked at the door and there's a Jimmy with like, and then I can be like to my partner, top, yeah, right? And then we've got further uh, action where we're indemnified if we go, that's weird, and then we go into this house. I see something weird. Let me go in here, and then people go, that door was always broken. Well, man, I'm sorry, but wellness check. We came here. The doors, Jimmy. All that is legit. Everything from her opening the door, saying, "Look at me, I'm fine," and you have to take her word for it because you don't know what the person looks like, right? The real person she could have opened the door, and the person could have been tied in the back room. Then you have to hear some mumbling. All these things are what you need to take action on a wellness check. Otherwise, it's knock knock. Who's there? Yeah, I'm here. I'm fine. Okay, thank you, miss, and go about your business. Why would you come back with four cops? Not just one, four. Cops in New York in a car patrol two to a car. That's two cars. Or if you're walking solo, you can generally have a partner or be by yourself. So maybe that was one squad car and two patrol guys who walked up. Did he look? You know how you know this? If he got on that radio afterwards, like, yeah, Central, can you send me PD backup for this call? Then at the inquest, the hearing, the whatever, I want to be like, all right, why'd you call for more police in this situation? His sister-in-law called the cop, but that's the thing. Once that door is open, right? Depending on he can stick his foot in, I'll let you close the door. Me, I'm not trying to bum rush your zone, unless I see something in there. Then I'm bum rushing your zone. But I tell people all the time, cops are like vampires. Don't invite them in. They don't have to leave. Don't even open the door at some of this behavior. And you want to be like, how dare you? You should be able to trust. Yeah, you should be able to trust the cops. You should be. A lot of women should be able to trust their boyfriends, but they're missing, and the newspapers are looking for them. The last one was Gabby Petito, right? Should be. You should have taken care of the woman you claim to love, that you were taking a road trip with. But sometimes, for whatever reason, fuckery, stupidity, and sinister-ness rears its head. And you got to be able to at least call what sinister is. When the EMT arrived, they were admitted by her sister to the apartment. That's another thing. People went like we drove up, knock on the door, and some 4-year-old would throw wide the door. And I would tell you, don't let your kids open the door. One, don't let the cops in. The kid letting the cops in is that same thing. But also, we could be bad guys coming to kill your family. Why your kid throwing wide the door? On any circumstance, that doesn't make any sense to me. Yeah, don't let your kids open the door. When EMT officers arrived, they were admitted to the apartment by the sister-in-law. But Thompson, unaware of her 911 call, told them they must have got the wrong number. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was like, man, y'all motherfuckers got the wrong number, right? Uh, and then the EMT was like, we'll teach you. And then they came back with like cops. The EMT officers left but returned to the apartment with 4 New York City police officers. This time, 4 New York City, but police officers is not capitalized. But New York City is. If we're gonna fucking do this, let's do this correctly. That should be 4 New York City Capitol Police Capitol officers, right? This time, Thompson answered the door and refused to admit them unless they had a search warrant, which makes sense. Police then threw Thompson on the floor and handcuffed him while the EMT examined the baby. The only marks they found were diaper rash. They just and grab your child. The action of that is outrageous. You have no power here. We'll do whatever we want to your kid. The idea of that is crazy. And you just keep seeing more and more of it. These things that you should not sully, right? The relationship between a husband and his wife, or a parent and their child. They just wander through with their racist ass hattery all the time. Like, fuck you, what you gonna do about it? And they're right, because nothing ever gets done about it. But I keep saying, in a land where nobody marches and people now are washing guns and people don't believe in God and the human animal craves vengeance on people, right? Not everybody will go through with it, but some will. So now my thing is, you've made more of these people. And we've been seeing more and more cops getting shot and people going, oh, huh, yeah. But you don't want to talk about, like I said here, you don't want to talk about these shootings because someone will go, I should fucking do that to the guy who did, right? You want to keep a lid on this ever-growing weirdness. But it's an anomaly that you set up here. I don't know how you stop it, but yeah. So the cops throw him on the ground, and then somebody just... This time, Thompson answered the door and refused to admit them unless they had a search warrant. Don't open the door. The police then threw Thompson on the floor and handcuffed him while the EMT examined the baby. The only marks they found was diaper rash. I don't have a baby, but I'm assuming diaper rash is common. But the baby was taken to the hospital with a diaper rash diagnosis was concerned. So you essentially kidnapped his kid. And if they needed a mark, what makes you think they wouldn't have put a mark on that kid? They now have control of your kid. Hold him too hard by the hand with a grip and go ahead. There's a hand mark on his arm. And who's going to believe that wasn't there when you knocked on my door? You want to hear a dark story about my family? No, I won't tell you that story. But man, it's a doozy of a story. It's a doozy of a story. It's a doozy of a story. I have to get clearance because it happened to somebody. I have to get clearance to tell it. But it's a doozy of a story. How cops and the people at the ER essentially tried to shatter my family with false accusations on something that happened at a party. There were like 20 people at the event. And it wasn't a get drunk party because there was a ton of kids at the event too. And I think years later, I think the reason they dropped it, because there were 30 people, not 30, but like 15, 20 people who all weren't related saying, you people are lying. That's not what happened. And it was like, man, this is going to be a hard one to railroad this family. We're taking easier people to railroad. Yeah, my family could have been completely different. Um, because of New York City police and New York City health and hospital interaction. Stop acting like these places are honest and honorable because they're places. Everything in this place has a person handling it. And if a person handling it, they come with all sorts of fucking baggage. And in a place that has racial history, stop acting like those baggages won't be racial. Thompson, however, was tossed into jail for 2 days and charged with resisting arrest and obstructing. Yeah, again, why didn't the judge have questions about this? Judges rubber stamp everything. So yeah, when the age of assassination come, don't forget the judges. Thompson, however, was tossed into jail for 2 days and charged with resisting arrest and obstruction of governmental administration. Obstruction of governmental administration essentially means you stood in the way of some government action going on, right? So the January 6th thing was obstruction of governmental administration. If I'm trying to write him a parking ticket and you stop me a bit, you're obstructing governmental administration. If I'm trying to interview him about what happened here, and I'm like, don't tell him, you should mind, that's obstructing governmental administration. A thousand laws written against you to put you in jail, and just as many written so they don't pay taxes and they won't be bothered by you. Thompson was tossed in jail for 2 days and charged with resisting arrest and obstruction of government administration. The prosecutors didn't would eventually offer him a plea deal. Would eventually offer him a plea deal in which his record would eventually be wiped clean, but he refused, and prosecutors subsequently dropped all charges without explanation. What the fuck? We need you to for us to stand up here in the light of day. We need you convicted. I'm innocent. We don't care. There are innocent people who did 30 years in jail. Why wouldn't they want to blow the fucking throat out of the person who put them there with a shotgun on their front lawn in front of their kids? Why wouldn't they want to? Don't tell me that is a horrible thing to say. Violence begets violence. Shut up. The people who are being violent should have violence enacted upon them, or they should stop being violent. I mean, this reminds me of the case with not Tamir Rice, with not Kwame. Kwame's a rapper. With it'll come to me in a second. Who spent 3 years on Rikers Island on a trumped up charge, and then they couldn't let him out after 6 months, right? Because they were wrong. They spent 2.5 years trying to rig him, trying to get him to to plead guilty to something. Do it now, you will get 10 years, but you do it now, you only get 7. Oh, do it now, you can get 10 years, but we'll give you 5. Do it now, you get 10 years, you'll be out tomorrow. Do it now, no jail time, you'll be out now, and we'll expunge your record. No. Okay, we're just gonna drop all the charges. It's been 3 years though. Explain your fucking self. Outrageous. What up, Tony? Good to see you in the chat. So yeah, don't act like black people are so magnanimous or so cowardly that you can keep doing this shit. Because it's one of the two. It's one of them. We're so afraid that we won't do anything, and maybe we'll hope that they'll get better and the society will get better, or we are such a great people that we will not lower ourselves to violence. Both of those things are a lie. You put me in jail for 30 years, I'm coming for you. So make it life. my personal philosophy does not allow me to fuck with this. Prosecutors eventually offered him a plea deal in which his record would eventually be wiped clean, but he refused, and prosecutors subsequently dropped all charges without explanation. Thompson sued, alleging malicious prosecution, but under federal appeals court precedent in New York, Thompson had to prove that his innocence had been affirmed. Your innocence is affirmed as you walk around. This statement implies you're already guilty. Prove how you were innocent. That because they got you in your guilty phase, and they could have done this to you. Now you have to prove that. What? What? Thompson sued alleging malicious prosecution, but under the federal appeals court precedent in New York, Thompson had to prove that his innocence had been affirmed. We just dropped the charges, so there was no. Look, if you catch me in the state of innocence and you charge me and then drop the charges, I return to a state of innocence, right? Or do I remain? Now I'm not even guilty because no verdict came down, so I remain in with this implication of guilt until you feel no, absolutely not. I'm telling you, the arrogance of these people, and I think it's because they used to be able to do this behind closed doors, and then they were arrogant about it, and they did it in front of the world with this whole "fuck you, what are you gonna do about it?" And now, in an age where so much shit has changed, and you're still doing this "fuck you, what are you gonna do about it?" I think you bring yourself problems, of which I encourage people to bring you problems because it's the only way to stop it. Marching didn't work, protesting didn't work, running people for office didn't work, putting more of your people in these places to change. None of that worked. Back to the original plan. Cut your head off at your barbecue. How did we get to this violent point? Oh, violence is never the answer. Oh, it's ISIS. No, you've been murdering off families for a long time, and this is your energy and your karma. And like I'd say, I've stopped saying it, but like I always say, just fix it. They have the power to fix it. They're like, no, we're gonna dare you to do something about this. Okay, you don't want to fix it. And my whole thing isn't nobody's trying to take over the government and be president, right? We're just trying to blacken your eye, and you can do this with all sorts of wild behavior, right? I think one guy could shut down a highway or a building or you know with this behavior. And what happened if you had a fucking shooting incident every week where no one, well, some people die, but just to send off the alarms of, oh, everybody hunker down, stay where you are. Oh, happening and everybody hunker down, stay where you are. You wouldn't get anything done. Just, it's like pulling the fire alarm constantly. So once the population begins to just fuck with this system, and I said before, there are 60 million of, once it starts, it's going to be hard to put that cork back in that bottle. And there won't be anybody in charge of it. So it'll be everywhere all at once from all quarters. Some people smart and know what they're doing. Some people just taking one of, and you'll just be inundated by the fuckery. You'll be inundated by it, all because you didn't fix it. And there will be all those people talking about we should bring back public execution. And those are the people that are why we're here. Oh, prosecutors will eventually offer him a plea deal. Thompson sued, right, alleging da 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 da. But under the federal appeals court precedent in New York, Thompson had to prove that his innocence had been affirmed, quote unquote, affirmed. The dropping of the charges without explanation was not enough, which is just it. Look, this thing they rigged this thing to protect themselves, and that's what this is. On Monday, because you should be able to sue somebody who tried to put you in jail for mean spirited bullshit. On Monday, the Supreme Court sided with Thompson and claimed that he did not have to show an affirmative indication of innocence. Right? That statement should have been he did not have to show quote an affirmative indication of innocence end quote comma. What the fuck is wrong with y'all? Period. Period. Right? That's what it should have said. The vote was 6-3. There were three idiots on the Supreme Court who thought this was fine. With three conservative judges, Roberts, Justice Brett Kavanaugh, and Amy Coney Barrett, saying you could fuck people over like this. No, my bad, my bad. I should have finished reading this. So, Chief Justice, first of all, Chief Justice Roberts has become very liberal. Brett Kavanaugh and Amy Coney Barrett joined the court's three liberals in the majority. So here's the thing, right? You've got nine Supreme Court justices. Six of them are conservative. So anything you ever get, you're going to need the good and kind graciousness of these conservative judges, right? So yeah, so you had a 6-3, the three conservative, and then you split. you split the three conservatives, and you got the standing three Republicans. Justice Kavanaugh wrote the majority opinion, claimed that a plaintiff need only show that his prosecution ended without a conviction, and Thomas did that here. Yeah. Why is this? Why, how did the other two, supposed to be three of our greatest litigators or literary legal minds in the country, not get this right? That's like saying so and so killed his three daughters because they wore a miniskirt and he thought that was against God. And then it goes to the Supreme Court because he gets convicted. It goes to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court, three people side with him. Yeah, it's good that you won, but what? You see what I'm saying? It's bad that one person would side with that, and this is the same thing. This is, oof, man, I'm yelling. I'm waking up the neighbors. This is almost 9 o'clock. This is welcome development that allows police and prosecutors to be held accountable when they do something wrong. And here's the thing, when they intentionally do it, I get fuckery, but sometimes you should drop the case if there's fuckery. The idea we're just going to plow on because fuck him. Because fuck the person that we're charging is what I'm saying. It really is just, it gets more and more outrageous. With this whole sense of fuck you, what are you going to do about it? And like I say again, in a land of guns, right? What am I going to do about it? You know, people who more and more have given up on even bothering to try in this society. Yeah, it's not something that you want percolating on your back burner, America. What you're going to do? Put 60 million black people in a home, put them all in a tent, like the Palestinians and you, once you go, the government has put in an edict that all black people have to do what you cease to be a democracy, and then we can get down to it. All black people have to live in Mississippi and report to so and so for X, right? Once that even is, it's a wrap. It's over for you. America has will no longer have a president. We now have a king. Yeah, it's officially over for you. Uh, this is a welcome development. We just wrote were accountable when they do something wrong, said Georgetown law professor Mary B. McCord, who filed a brief on the case on behalf of some 70 former prosecutors. Right? So 70 prosecutors was like, what the fuck? Right? So it's not like they're all evil fucktards. Like I said, if you have 100 cops and you got three of them, 3% of them, you just let run around and do evil, and this is that, right? You got a ton of prosecutors out there who are like, what? No, this is wrong. But you have more of them in more influential places pushing this evil. And then telling those who want to be, if you want to make it in this prosecutor legal life world, you'll play ball like us because this is how we do it. And we've been doing it like this for 100 years. 100 years. Minimum 100 years. Until this decision in many jurisdictions, it didn't matter that framing an innocent person completely upended their lives, said Amir Ali, who represented Thompson in the Supreme Court. If the charges were dismissed, there was no redress for the wrong person unless a court affirmed it. So you had to get another lawyer and go back to court. See what I'm saying? See the fuckery? Yeah. It's not cheap to just get lawyers and go to court. They make justice out of your price range when justice should be a free thing. It should be in the air you breathe as an American. Instead, it has to be in your wallet. But we're all Americans. No, we're not. And you're murdering me off. So now you're my ally, my enemy, and I have no allies. Now what? When I declare you my enemy, now what? I just hide in my mansion and let the FBI go get you. Yeah, I think a lot of the rich think that that will save them, and I don't think it will. I really don't think it will. But again, you ain't got to worry about me because my whole idea is if they come get you, they've come too late. They should have been here a while ago. um, if these charges were dismissed, there was no redress for the wrong person, unless again, this is 2022. and we're still dealing with this. I think it's long overdue ruling said Michael Bromwich, who's spent years as a prosecutor, a defense lawyer. He was a prosecutor and a defense lawyer, and an inspector general for the U.S. Justice Department. Prosecuted Gray with way too much, and then they realized they may not have a case and want to protect law enforcement from liability. Yeah. You do that arrogant shit like blow you away in your driveway and then stand there and wait to be arrested because you know you're going to jail forever. And then you say why you did it on the stand, and people are like, that guy is fucking crazy. But you can't let that get out, right? So you're obviously not gonna uh, what is it plea bargain something like that. You're just gonna call him crazy and throw him in a mental institution for the rest of his days. Still deals with your problem. Still, you don't also have to address the real problem of why he did it. You get to call him crazy, or you get to just call him a psycho nut bar, and we don't care what you have to say. You don't get to speak your mind at the trial, which everybody's supposed to get, right? The judge, oh, that's it. I've heard enough. I'm gonna fuck you, judge. You're already convicted. They'll just drag you away, and that's it. Rubber stamp conviction, grandstand for justice. There's been a lot of people who knew they got railroaded and were mad at their trial, and the judge shut them down. Fight it out. The judge, right? How dare you act like a savage in this place where I'm trying to railroad you? So yeah, my days of fucking talking about this shit is fast coming to an end. This is not because I talk about it in a way that could be, like I said, viewed by any number of evil people as trying to encourage people to do shit. Even as I'm telling you, it's coming down, and I'm not telling you to go do it. Uh, but Bromwich, but other experts caution these malicious prosecutions may not be easy. These malicious prosecution cases may not be easy. Yeah, they're not going to bring them. This is not an open the floodgates decision. Quote, this is not an open the floodgates, end quote, decision, warned McCord. Indeed, the court opinion specifically remanded Thompson's case back to the law courts where other defenses may be raised by law enforcement officials, right? So they're going, yeah, we're not throwing this out and we're sending it back to the law, okay, and figure this shit out. So now they're giving the cops and their lawyers and the unions a chance to come up and pull some rabbit out of their asshole about why he's guilty with no pronouncement of guilt from a court that 99 times out of 100 will rubber stamp what they have to say. We're not rubber stamping this one, guys. What's up? Watch them drop the charges. Because at this point, people should go to jail for malicious prosecution. As a Georgetown University law professor, Paul Butler observed, these civil cases are tough to win. Yeah, because the whole place is fucking racist. And when you do win them, you don't. The damage are often very small. Yeah. So it can be very hard to find a lawyer. Yeah, so that's going on. That's my point. It's pointless to try. So where's my gun? I'm sick of working this $7 an hour job anyway. I don't get to see my kids, right? Or my husband. Or my husband was thrown in jail by the well, women don't do this kind of thing. It is men, right? So I don't get to see my kids and I'm thrown in jail. And you took me away from the woman I love, who now I'm married to somebody else, and that's gonna and I what? You make it hard. Now you put this thing, but you're saying it's going to be impossible to do anything about it anyway. Why write this? This is more that feel good bullshit that when the election comes in November, they're going to be like, hey, we gave you Juneteenth as a history. Hey, we gave you what's the latest nonsense? We gave you the lynching bill. Look at us, we're moving for you. Hey, we made it easier to sue people who put you in jail. Hey, look at all the stuff we're doing for you. Come down here, nigglets, and vote. Excuse my language. Come down here and vote for the Democratic Party. And then when this happens again, because people die like every 4 days in this country from police. And by the way, that's a true stat. Like every 4 days, someone innocent is killed by the cops in this country. The police death rate is one a day. That's about the average, right? And it's not police shootings; those are rare. I think those may be one or two uh, a month in your state, and those aren't um, those might be aggression like shootings and stuff. But generally, cops are killed by car stops. And I'm not talking about you pull up a guy for blowing a light and he's secretly wanted by the cops. He's got a bite and he's going to shoot you when you walk up to his window. I'm talking about like you're standing there and someone will blow the light and run you down. That kind of nonsense, right? You're standing directing traffic and somebody will clip you. You're standing you're on the highway because there's an accident on the highway and then someone will hit you. These are the kind of like weird ways that cops die. But they want you to think that everything is some battle and everybody's a SWAT team and oh, there are people. This is not fucking Mexico. This is not Mexico. And all to stand themselves up for all the bullshit that they've been doing, they demonize us as they've always have. But in this way. And whenever somebody does something, he's the only thing you talk about with his saggy pants or his this or his that, right? They can't wait to call somebody a thug, which is a code word now for nigger, right? Nobody's stupid. We know what you're up to. And at this point, you know, the pushback should be severe. And the pushback is always insufficient. And at this point where we black folk are battling out with all groups here. All fucking groups. All right. Uh yeah, they put this on and I'm hot but no one's gonna nothing's gonna come of it. This is not the open to floodgates decision, warned McCord. Indeed, court opinion specifically remanded Thompson's case back to law courts uh, where other defenses may be raised by law enforcement. What about, I don't want to as a defense? As Georgetown University law professor Paul Butler observed, quote, these civil cases are tough to win, comma, and when you do win them, comma, the damages are often very small. It can be very hard to find a lawyer, end quote. So he and McCord, both former prosecutors, note, for instance, that there remain other tools that immunize police officers and prosecutors from being sued. Yeah, you have to take away those. And as Butler put it, it's not as if the brackets the Supreme Court conservatives suddenly got woke. Liberals should take no heart from a methodology based on understanding of tort law from 1871. Why are you listening to these people? Justice Kavanaugh, in his opinion, indicated that the court must start its analysis based on torts available in 1871. What happens if 60 million black people say, you know what, we're just completely tired of listening to you old white lawyers? And every time the cops or a lawyer showed up, every window wherever you lived will open up and a gun will point it out at it. This society will go, okay, they're serious, maybe we should fix our issues. Or it will go, finally, let's get this race war going. What do you think this society wants more? To wipe out the majority of black people and bring us to heel like they think is going to happen? Or amiable and docile black population? I'll let you think about that. Because the population has been docile and has been perpetually fucked with, even as it was docile and tried the way the racists say we should try to get redress. Yeah, all this is ridiculous. Kavanaugh, in his opinion, indicated that the court must start its analysis based on tort available in 1871 because that was the year Congress passed a law authorizing lawsuits against state and local officers who deprive individuals of their rights under color of state law. But that is not necessarily the understanding of tort law today. Dissenting from Monday's ruling were conservative Justice Samuel Alito, Clarence Thomas, and Neil Gorsuch. Writing for the three, Alito said, "What the court has done is to recognize a novel hybrid claim of uncertain scope that has no basis in the Constitution and is almost certainly to lead to confusion." See, this doesn't say anything. What the court has done is to recognize a novel hybrid. What is a novel hybrid? Of a claim. You should tell us what these claims are. Of uncertain. So it's a novel hybrid claim of uncertain scope. This whole fucking sentence means nothing. Right? And then you double down and it has no basis in the Constitution of what? You know what? The sooner God lands a giant missile in the middle of Washington, D.C. and wipes the place out, the better. The arrogant fuckery of that place. Ugh. Yeah, maybe America is an over thing. Right? Our leadership is just bullshit. So if the leadership is bullshit, the people have to be bullshit. It is 9 o'clock. Man, we've been our overtime has been 54 minutes. I don't have coffee. I do have a show tomorrow though. Thank you. We will be back tomorrow. If you are still with me in the chat, I thank you and I appreciate you for it. Today was a hot one. I agree. And if it's a little too much truth for you, I apologize. Um, but I don't think I was wrong. I probably could have worded some shit better. I'm talking emotionally, right? These are unscripted, not like television news and those talky talk shows, right? These are just what someone in the environment feels about the whole thing. Is that rain? Guess not. Good lord. Uh, so look, listen. Same thing always applies, man. And ladies and gentlemen, if you care about, if you first of all, if you don't care about something, you don't care, right? Done, solved. But if you if you care about something and you view it as as a tent pole to your personal philosophy, right? And it all goes poorly, you owe it to yourself to stop and reassess and go to something else, right? Before you become a Karen or the male equivalent of a Karen or the black equivalent of a Karen or a black male equivalent of a Karen or Latino Asian equivalent of a Karen. And a Karen, I think, is those women who put up statues after the Civil War telling everybody, no, 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 everything was fine, because we say everything was fine, and prolong this horror shit show. And if you stopped it today, the energy and anger and feelings about it is going to last for another 150 years. Right? Your life is precious. Don't spend it being angry at shit. Do something better with your days. And when the people go, "What? You didn't come out and vote for me?" Go, "You didn't give me anything to vote for. Don't put this on me. You suck as a human being." And all the reasons that I tell you on this show nightly, semi nightly essentially, 6 days a week, you can throw that back at them. Because I'm telling you, I've done this before. Hit politicians with questions that they could not come from because they're used to people just loving them or being able to just go, "I'm not going to answer that because I'm important." And then when they don't, you let them have it. Been there for fucking 30 years, you've done nothing but make yourself rich, you piece of shit. Then everybody around them will look at you like, what? Yeah, be aggressive. Be aggressive. And the first thing they do will escort you out because the first thing you don't have is freedom of speech around me. And in this environment, you have your own podcast. You can show up at home and go, "I just had to tell so and so XYZ," and then you can trend and make $1 trillion. Sell T-shirts and oh my goodness, 58 T-shirts and all other kinds of wild accoutrements. But at the end of the day, the kids are still dying. Kids can't go to college. It's not, and this thing that they put in for black people, they've exported to everybody. So a lot of kids can't go to college. A lot of kids have these horrible interactions with law enforcement. Right? They're not shooting a lot of people, but they're shooting a lot of black people. But they're disrespecting just a ton of people across the board. This arrogance of "fuck you, what are you gonna do about it?" Right? They should be better. It's one of the best jobs to have in the nation, and they're allowed to be corrupt because the unions and the state assemblies This whole, like I said before, this whole thing about states' rights is why they want to be able to do this. That's why they want states' rights. I'm going to be able to do whatever I want as a state official. What I don't want is the feds coming out and putting me in jail for my fuckery, right? But they don't want city rights, right? So the city going, I can do whatever I want. Let the state mind this business and let me run this place, right? It doesn't make any sense. It's like I have an open relationship with my wife, but I don't allow my uh, what is a weird scenario, right? A sex scenario. I have an open relationship with my wife, but I also have a mistress that nobody knows about. It's kind of like it doesn't make any sense, right? It's all right. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna go have some tea. I'm gonna go have some tea. And mind you, this all stemmed out of my 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 realization after this wedding, right? And realized that I was swimming upstream, and a lot of people I'm swimming upstream who won't support me are members of my family at this wedding. So what am I doing? What am I doing? What am I doing? I don't know. All right, we've been streaming for 2 hours and 15 minutes. Um, I don't know if it was a good show. I hope it was a good show. But at the end of the day, I think it was unique in the way I do my shows. It was essentially me throwing a tantrum, um, and getting my own feelings out, which will happen with podcasts. They happen, right? Uh, and sometimes you get your feelings out and they're hateful, and people get locked out of medias and social medias and all that. And sometimes you get your real feelings out and they're innocuous and stupid, and everybody goes, "What a loser you are for even thinking this way," right? And sometimes they're just, yeah, so what? Who cares? We all got problems, and I think my issues fall in somewhere in there. Everybody has problems. Some got time for mine or what I think. Yeah, that's what you have. This is my issue, right? And then you go on about how hard it is to make the mortgage and save for the kids' college fund and all that. And those are absolutely right. And you can talk on those for an hour and you'd be absolutely right. So I get it. All right, but I want to thank you. I really do appreciate it. If you like the stream, please like and subscribe. I need allies in this bitch. I really do. And I think I'm gonna try and find people who want to do stuff together in my local. Maybe I go to meet, group me, find other people who do podcasts or other people who do podcasts and play the guitar. Other people who like to cook. Other people who want to get back into working out. I was supposed to run today. I was trying. I didn't, but I was like, "It's going to be a mile. It's going to be a half a mile. I don't think I can run 3 miles." Oh man! So my getting my nerve up to get back into running uh, is good. But then I was like, "What is my starting run length?" I should just went out and ran my standard 3. I don't think I can run my standard 3. I think I've got 30 pounds of weight on me that I shouldn't have on me, and I got a bum knee from this police career as well as a bad arm, right? Um, so I'm not supposed to be running in the first place. So when I do, I keep my weight down to lessen the impact of. Because when I'm 70, I'm not having a knee replacement. Right? I'm going into the box with all original parts. Um, that's my philosophy. Uh, I have a lot of stupid philosophies, like like Viagra. Look, that whole thing is a mental game. Get good at your mental game. And if you can't get up, maybe God said you shouldn't be putting it up, right? It's like babies. These 50-year-old women having babies. Yeah, if you can naturally can, I guess so. Okay, but who's going to be here when the kid is 10 and you're 65 or whatever, 15 and you're 65, right? You're supposed to be running around with your kids, right? All right, do it, but I don't know if that's wise, right? Having babies that late in life. I got a lot of stupid opinions. Like for me, I don't have any children. too late for me, right? But when my women friends go, "Oh, you can have a baby anytime," I'm like, that is not. Yeah, yeah. That on paper, yeah, but that is not where you should be moving. Like just like women can wear anything, but should you really be wearing anything at certain ages, right? In certain environments, right? These are the things that we're talking about. Uh, all right. So I guess that's it for me. We're gonna give this thing 2 minutes. like it, like and subscribe. Excuse me. Like and subscribe, and remember, like I was just saying, excuse me. I'm already beginning to feel better. My nature is to get it all out, and then I'm over it, right? Uh, Whereas other people's nature is to get it out and linger on it. So if I had an argument with you, I'll say everything I'm going to say, and when I ever argue, I don't curse because you know people lose the thread of what you're talking about. Who the fuck you talking to, right? Cursing. So I say what I say. I may say it loudly, but I'll say what I'll say, and I won't curse, right? Then, but afterwards, you'll see me next time and go, there he is. I'm talking, and I'll be like, hi, and you'll be like, why is he being nice to me? Because I said it and I'm over it. Whereas you expect part three of this argument, part four, two, three, four. This like it's Hollywood sequels, and that's not the way it should be. Out. You as an adult have said your piece. Someone heard you say it. You should be that should be it. Unless you're gonna end your friendship. So fuck you and I'm out. Fine, I get it. But if it's not that severe, you still need to say your piece so you can move on. But I find people don't know how to get down in a social society anymore. We're society, but we're not social, right? People aren't social. There are things you do to be social versus it's good called good manners, right? There are things you do. You don't litter, right? Imagine if everybody in the country littered. There'd be trash every place. Most people don't litter. And I remember the campaign in the 70s that stopped us from littering, right? Throwing stuff out the car window. It worked on me. I remember telling my dad, don't litter. You can't do it, right? And your little kids pester you. All right, fine. I also remember the seatbelt one. Dad, you got. I tell my nephew this on the call all the time. Put your seatbelt on. That could have been conditioning you to uh, get a master's degree. There'd be homeless people going, "Give me a nickel," and you could walk around every homeless person. What do you have an advanced degree? Oh yeah, chemistry, right? Oh yeah, literature, or poetry, right? Right. You would have conditioned the whole culture to education, and you would still get these fall offs and cast outs, but they'd be bad. But you don't want that. You want them to go. You want stuff, but you have to go through me to get it. I'm your moderator, mediator, your fixer, your everything. Everything comes through me, and I tell you what you can and cannot have, and then I set the ridiculous markup for it. And to protect it, I tell you who we need to go to war for. Yeah, America has become a shit show, an arrogant shit show. And it likely always was. And the thing that you did to one small group, you've now exported to all the groups. And you've covered that up by having the people at the top be a multicultural look of representation, and they don't represent anything but one class of people and one philosophy of life. Give me all the things. All right, that's it for us. Take care of yourself. We'll be back tomorrow, 6:30. Good Lord, Sean, be here at 6:30, please. 6:30. Be here or be uh, hexagonal. I'm about to say hexatangonal, but that's not a word. All right, hexagonal. Hexagonal. Uh, yeah, I'm into hexagonals now. They fit with my philosophy. All right, boys and girls. I will see you in the next one. The next one's tomorrow. Come get some more kooky weirdness that only I can give you. It is both vintage and modern. And the taste, as you uncork my crazy, it wafts around the room. Mwah. It as it touches your palate, you realize, ooh, this brand of crazy is definitely like all those other trivial run of the mill brands are crazy. I'm really glad I found this nut bar. So this nut bar will be back here tomorrow, talking more politics, right? News and just everyday social, cultural events. Please come through and I promise not to throw a tantrum. Was it even a tantrum? I promise not to throw a verbal hissy fit. How's that? Uh, thanks for coming through, William. I appreciate you, man. Your record of coming through is freaking super impressive. Uh, and let it be. It's always good seeing you. Look, man. I'm subscribed to you, Let It Be, but I'm telling you, you click on, and then all of a sudden you're not subscribed to people. That just doesn't make any sense. And also, you really need to let people know how many people are viewing their content. You really should. But I get why you don't, because you don't have to, and you're the important kids in class, and it's your ball, and if you don't like it, you don't have to play here and take it and go home. I've heard it all from all the other outlets and streamers, but stop being arrogant and take some advice from some of your freaking users and followers and grow this platform. And stop being freaking, you know, so precious with it. Be willing to kill your babies. You tried it once, it didn't work. Uh, I'll kill your babies is an expression that I learned when, just for people who don't know it, I learned as when I was doing art. And the idea of kill your babies is the idea of you painted this picture. It's a big one. It's beautiful. Took you 2 months. Not 2 months. So I mean, let's say it took you like 2 weeks, a week or two. Uh, you should be able to look at that and go, this is horrible, and paint all over it, and start from scratch, right? It's the idea that once you done, it's perfect and nothing can be different, right? I mean, people write the first draft of a song. That's what drafts are. The first draft of a song, and then rewrite it and maybe change this. And by the time you hear it, it's different. Some things come to you fully formed. That's great, but usually with art or whatever you're writing, there's an editing and drafting and writing process. And the idea is when you're writing on something, when you're working on something big, people are less likely to want to change it, right? And those are the kill your babies things, right? Because you may make it better, but it's the internet age. You can have the first copy and then save everything and then work on the second draft of it and see which one you like better. Maybe the first one was perfect, right? So yeah, kill your babies. It's a very weird maxim, but it's a good one. It's a true one. All right, we will see you in the next one. I keep saying that. The next one's tomorrow, April 5th. Tuesday. Take care of yourself. Have a good day, and we'll be back tomorrow. Peace.